श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पितु मात स्वामी सखा हमारे, पितु मात स्वामी सखा हमारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। ठाकुर हमारे प्राणों से प्यारे, तुम हो हमारे, हम हैं तुम्हारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। गैया चरैया माखन चुरैया, गैया चरैया माखन चुरैया, दीनों की नैया के तुम ही खिवैया, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। गोविंद मेरो है, गोपाल मेरो है, गोविंद मेरो है, गोपाल मेरो है। श्री बांके बिहारी नंदलाल मेरो है, गोविंद मेरो है, गोपाल मेरो है। श्री बांके बिहारी नंदलाल मेरो है, गोविंद मेरो है, गोपाल मेरो है। गोविंद मेरो है, गोपाल मेरो है। श्री बांके बिहारी नंदलाल मेरो है। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। तुमसे है धरती, तुमसे है अंबर, अग्नि पवन और सातों समंदर, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो। राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो। राधा रमण अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम् आते नहीं हम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं हम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं बीर शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम् श्रीमन नारायण 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 भजमन नारायण 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 श्री हरि नारायण 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 लक्ष्मी नारायण 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 कौन कहते हैं भगवान नाचते नहीं कौन कहते हैं भगवान नाचते नहीं हम सखियों के जैसे नचाते नहीं हम गोपियों के जैसे नचाते नहीं कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम् श्रीमन नारायण 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 भजमन नारायण 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 श्री हरि नारायण 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 लक्ष्मी नारायण 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 केशव नारायण 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 माधव नारायण 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 गोविंद नारायण 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 श्रीधर नारायण 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 हरे रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे जय अम्बे गौरी मैया जय परिब्रह्मा शिवरी ॐ जय अम्बे गौरी मांग सिंदूर विराजत टीको मृग मद को मैया टीको मृग मद को उज्ज्वल से दो नैना उज्ज्वल से दो नैना चंद्र बदननी को मैया जय अम्बे गौरी कनक समान कलेवर रक्तांबर राजे मैया रक्तांबर राजे रक्त पुष्प गलमाला रक्त पुष्प गलमाला कंठन पर साजे मैया जय अम्बे गौरी के हरिवाहन राजत खड़ग खपर धारी मैया खड़ग खपर धारी सुर नर मुनि जन सेवत सुर नर मुनि जन सेवत तिनके दुख हारी मैया जय अम्बे गौरी कानन कुंडल शोभित नासाग्र मोती मैया नासाग्र मोती कोटिक चंद्र दिवाकर कोटिक चंद्र दिवाकर राजत समज्योति ॐ जय अम्बे गौरी शुंभ निशुंभ बिदारे महिषासुर घाती मैया महिषासुर घाती धूम्र विलोचन नैना धूम्र विलोचन नैना निश दिन मद माती ॐ जय अम्बे गौरी चंड मुंड संघारे शोणित बीज हरे मैया शोणित बीज हरे मधु कैटभ दो मारे मधु कैटभ दो मारे सुर भयहीन करे ॐ जय अम्बे गौरी ब्रह्माणी रुद्राणी तुम कमला रानी मैया तुम कमला रानी आगम निगम बखानी आगम निगम बखानी तुम शिव पटरानी ॐ जय अम्बे गौरी 64 योगिनी गावत नृत्य करत भैरो मैया नृत्य करत भैरो बाजत ताल मृदंगा कंचन थाल विराजत, अगर कपूर बाती, मैया अगर कपूर बाती, श्रीमान के तुम्हें राजत, धौलागढ़ में विराजत, कोटि रतन ज्योति। ओम जय अम्बे गौरी। श्री अम्बे जी की आरती, जो कोई नर गावे, मैया प्रेम सहित गावे। कहत शिवानंद स्वामी, कहत हरि हर स्वामी, सुख संपत्ति पावे। ओम जय अम्बे गौरी। ओम जय अम्बे गौरी। ओम जय अम्बे गौरी। गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे, गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे। गोविंद भजले प्यारे, गोपाल भजले प्यारे, भजले राधे नाम तेरे काम आएगा। गोविंद भजले प्यारे, गोपाल भजले प्यारे, भजले राधे नाम तेरे काम आएगा। राधे जी के नाम से ही कृष्ण दौड़े आए हैं, जिसने बुलाया राधे कृष्ण को वो पाए हैं। राधे जी के नाम से ही कृष्ण दौड़े आए हैं, जिसने बुलाया राधे कृष्ण को वो पाए हैं। गोविंद भजले प्यारे, गोपाल भजले प्यारे, भजले राधे नाम तेरे काम आएगा। भजले राधे नाम तेरे काम आएगा। गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे, गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे। जपे जाओ राधे राधे, भज मन गोविंदा, ब्रज भाव प्यारी राधे नागर नंदा। जपे जाओ राधे राधे, भज मन गोविंदा, ब्रज भाव प्यारी राधे नागर नंदा। गोविंद भजले प्यारे, गोपाल भजले प्यारे, भजले राधे नाम तेरे काम आएगा। भजले राधे नाम तेरे काम आएगा। गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे, गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे। सबसे गहरी इनकी ही प्रीत है। गोविंद भजले प्यारे, गोपाल भजले प्यारे, भजले राधे नाम तेरे काम आएगा, भजले राधे नाम तेरे काम आएगा। गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे, गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे, गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे, गोविंदा गोपाला श्री श्यामा राधे। राधे कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे, कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे राधे, राधे कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे, कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे राधे। अद्भुत तेरो श्रृंगार रूप मन भायो जी, श्याम मन भायो जी। अद्भुत तेरो श्रृंगार रूप मन भायो जी, श्याम मन भायो जी। मन बावड़ियो हो गयो जदसु, मन बावड़ियो हो गयो जदसु, मिल्या शाम से नैन रूप मन भायो जी, श्याम मन भायो जी। अद्भुत तेरो श्रृंगार रूप मन भायो जी, श्याम मन भायो जी। सांची सांची बोल री म्हाने गुण सो काजड़ गार्यो, सांची सांची बोल री म्हाने गुण सो काजड़ गार्यो। नैन मटाका हो गया थासु, दास काड़ जो हार्यो, दास काड़ जो हार्यो। सूझे ना अब कुछ भी माने, सूझे ना अब कुछ भी माने, दिखे निराला नैन रूप मन भायो जी, श्याम मन भायो जी। अद्भुत तेरो श्रृंगार रूप मन भायो जी, श्याम मन श्रृंगार नारी कोई नजर लगाए देगी, नजर लगाए देगी, नारी कोई नजर लगाए देगी। तू इतनो मत कर श्याम श्रृंगार नारी कोई नजर लगाए देगी, इतनो मत कर श्याम श्रृंगार नारी कोई नजर लगाए देगी। चांद से भी मुख तेरो विशाल, होठ मूंगा से बढ़कर लाल, नाक सुख सी भवरा से बाल। इतनो सुंदर मुख तेरो तो नील कमल सुरंग, मोहित हो सखी डार दे तो पटक मोहनी अंग, पटक मोहनी अंग प्रेम की भंग पिलाए देगी। तू इतनो मत कर श्याम श्रृंगार नारी कोई नजर लगाए देगी, तू इतनो मत कर श्याम श्रृंगार नारी कोई नजर लगाए देगी। सब ही भरपूर पावे, ऐसे तुम महाराज
Western hours.
सहने वंदे
सकल लोक मां सहुने वंदे
निंदा ना करे के नीरे निंदा ना करे के नीरे
देखो इसमें आएगा लाइव।
काच मना निश्चल राखे
काच काच मन
Hello.
निश्चल
Checking sound.
राखे
1 2 3 1 2 3 checking sound. One, two, three, checking sound. Right. Okay, good morning to all of you, whether you are in India or Indonesia or anywhere else. I would like to bid a very warm welcome from Yogyakarta to our webinar series conducted in the class of Religion and International Relations. We will be beginning the session shortly. I ask everyone to prepare themselves before we will begin the session soon. Thank you very much. Hi there, Shruti. How are you?
I'm good. How are you keeping?
Yeah, fine. It's very warm here. I guess Delhi is much more hotter.
I'm actually back home in Varanasi and it's
Oh, back
so
home.
hot here.
Okay,
Yeah,
in
but
Varanasi.
yeah, yeah. This time actually the weather is a little better because of the lack of pollution and everything.
Oh, that's
And we are
good.
getting the monsoon rains a little early. So usually it comes
Ah,
in July, August, but this time it's already here.
right. So it's a bit warmer then. All right then.
Yeah, humid.
Okay, humid. All right. Yeah. We've been listening news about monsoons in West Bengal and
Oh,
Bangladesh.
yeah,
I guess India's weather is affected by that climate as well. Okay.
definitely.
Yeah. Right. We will begin around 2 minutes, I think. We will begin shortly at 10:05, and after that we will moving on to the discussion. Okay.
I'll have one short video to share in between and then one
Yes.
slide, but mostly it'll be a talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No worry. You can share it. I will give you the permission to share the slides.
Perfect.
Yes. So we are also live on YouTube right now. I guess there are several people watching as well. Let's see how many people are watching now. Okay, so there are 2 people watching currently. I think the number will increase. Will be increasing as we continue the discussion. Okay, it's now 10:05 in Indonesian time, so we will begin now. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum to those who are attending our session. Namaste, as well to our colleagues in India. A very good morning to all of you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Haza. I'm the lecturer of this class entitled Religion and International Relations. And today we will be conducting the second series of the discussion of the Religion and International Relations class. Today's discussion will be on the issue of Hinduism in contemporary Indian foreign policy. Today we will have our special guest coming straight from the banks of Ganges, from the city of Varanasi. She is one of my best colleagues from India. Her name is Shruti Rao. She is currently working as an assistant editor in Indian Foundation Journal, as well as a research assistant in Indian Foundation. She is working closely with several politicians from India. For example, Ram Madhav, which is the general secretary of the Bharatiya Janata Party, currently the government party in India. And I hope that today's session will provide everyone a very good insight on how Indian foreign policy currently works, especially with respect to the Hinduism as a religion. We will see whether Hinduism really affect Indian foreign policy and how Hinduism is implemented within the framework of Indian foreign policy. For your information, Shruti, and also to all of audiences here, we are having currently at least 60 participants, with 2 participants watching from YouTube. And also several of our lecturers from the Department of International Relations, Universitas Islam Indonesia, will be also joining shortly. They are currently having some classes, but they will be joining shortly. Our head of department, Mr. Hanga, will be also joining, but he's now having class as well. And he will be listening to the streaming or the recording of the streaming. For those who would like to ask the question to Miss Shruti, they can ask through the chat box directly in the Zoom. I ask that everyone ask the question in English, or if you cannot speak in English or ask your question in English, you can also ask in Bahasa, and I will help you in translating your question from Bahasa to English, so that Miss Shruti could understand. Or if anyone needs a clarification regarding to what Miss Shruti is trying to explain, or you have confusion or something to ask in between, please ask through the chat box. Thank you, everyone. And now I will give the virtual floor to Shruti Rao, my friend from Varanasi. Please, Miss Shruti.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Haza. I'm so glad to be here with you all. Hope you all are keeping safe and sound, and that all your families are doing well. I would like to start with my lecture now. Basically, I would like to share with you this idea that many people over the years have wondered that how India, which is a land so vast, so diverse, and made up of thousands of languages, religions, cultural practices, and identities, has survived the onslaught of time without falling apart and breaking up into smaller pieces. Why this democratic land, which is full of all kinds of liberties, remains to be united as a nation. And many people over the years, including people from the British colonial rule to the times when India got freedom, have been very cynical about the sovereignty and the unity of this land. One very famous British administrator had said that the first and foremost thing to learn about India is that there is not and never was an India. He further said that it is conceivable that national sympathies may arise in particular parts of this vast land, but that they will never extend to India generally. That men of the Punjab, which lies in the northern border of India, and men and women in Bengal, which lies in the eastern part of the country, and the northwestern provinces, which is around the current day Afghanistan region, to the people of Madras, which lies down south in the country, who look so different, who have such different languages and very different cultural practices, would ever feel that they belong to one nation. He said that this would completely be impossible. Later on, joining this idea was the very famous British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, who had expressed his cynicism regarding India, saying that India was merely a geographical expression and it was no more a country than equator. What one can say about these men who predicted India's disintegration over and over again is that they know very little about the common Hindu spirit that runs through this vast land and binds the people of this country together through space and time. 70 years after the departure of the British left India in 1947 when India became an independent nation. And they left India after 200 years of their colonial rule. India as a nation and as a civilizational entity has not only survived as a plural and tolerant democracy, but is also thriving as one. With this context of India being a land rich with diversity of religions, languages, and identities, I would like to delve on one particular religion that has found its cradle in India, which is Hinduism. Hinduism is the ancient most religion of the world in terms of recorded history. Its beginning can be placed somewhere around 3000 BC. Hinduism as a religion is based on the holy texts of Vedas, Upanishads, and other important cultural and historical texts like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The central philosophies of Hinduism, that of the idea of dharma, which translates into basically ethics and duties, or moksha, the idea of salvation and freedom from the cycle of life and birth, to the philosophy of karma, that all your actions will have consequences. All these philosophies can be traced back to the central ideas of the holy texts of Hinduism, which were written over the course of thousands of years and are still a very integral part of the day-to-day lives of a billion people in the country. Now, has the religion of Hinduism contributed to the idea of India as a united civilizational unit? Thousands of years before India was a nation state, which it became in 1947, or it was a colony of the British, or any cartographic map of the country was ever made by scholars or invaders, India was still conceived as a geographical unit in the hearts and minds of the faithful, and particularly in the religious imaginations of the Hindus. From the northern boundary of Himalayas, which safeguard the Indian landmass from both harsh weather and inimical kingdoms, to the seashores of the Indian Ocean in the south, extending its arms deep into South Asia and going as west as the Hindu Kush mountains of modern day Afghanistan and Pakistan, India has always been one sacred geography for the Hindu people. Thousands of years before India became a political unit or a nation state in the modern sense, one character of the great Hindu epic of Mahabharata had described the landmass of Bharat, which is the traditional name of India, as a petal of lotus, extending from the Himalayas to the ocean down south. This same landmass is described in exquisite detail in the great epic of Ramayana when King Ram travels across the geography of this country in his 14 years of exile, marking sacred spots and stopovers which continue to hold great relevance even in the 21st century. There can be no better example than these spots filled with pilgrims even to this day to mark the continuity of the ideas of Hinduism. The sacred temples and sites of ancient India are strewn across this landmass. For example, the holiest of Hindu temples, dedicated to Lord Shiva, who is one of the most important gods of Hinduism, a part of the Holy Trinity, can be found up in the Kashmir Valley and also in the southernmost shore of India, in Kanyakumari. And to both these sites, millions of Indians make pilgrimage every year. One finds that the traditional cultural practices of Indians, which have been followed for thousands of years now, have many common links running beneath the exterior apparent differences. For example, the most devout Vaishnavites are the followers of the god Vishnu, again a part of the Holy Trinity, can be both found in Dwarka, which lies in the westernmost part of India, and also in the Meitei tribe found in Manipur, which is in the easternmost corner of the country. And you will see that both these tribes and communities have very common foundational ideas of Hinduism as a religion. One significant idea that I wish to put forward here is that to us Indians, Hinduism is not just our religion, but also our history, our glorious cultural heritage. Hinduism, in that sense, is a very fluid religion. It's syncretic, taking in its strides other cultures and influences which come from abroad. For example, India was the only land where Jews never faced any kind of persecution. The followers of Zoroastrian faith found a peaceful home in India when they escaped the cruel empires of Persia. Islam and Christianity came to India not through crusades or holy wars, but through saints and rulers who became an indispensable part of Indian history. Both Christianity and Islam today in India are imbued with the colors and cultural practices of this ancient land. Hinduism places great importance on recognizing and celebrating diversity. Thus, in different parts of India, Hindus celebrate religious festivals as per their own beliefs, their own cultural practices, without the imposition of any uniformity from top down. I found an interesting video that I would like to share with you all on the rise and fall of different religions in the world. And through that, we'll be able to see what was the timeline when India gave birth to Hinduism and how Hinduism's rise and decline can be traced. Can I share the screen, please?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay. Yes, please.
Is everybody
Yes, yes. We can
can you
see
see
now.
now?
Yes, yes. We can see now.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll just start once again.
All right. Yes. Yeah, we can see clearly now. Okay.
So it's around 3000 BC that Hinduism starts from the Indus Valley in India. This is the
Mm,
Indian landmass.
mm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. Mm. Oh. Okay.
As we can see that
Mm.
Hindus were only restricted to the parts in Asia,
Yes.
but also here in South America, there are some orange dots here. That is
Mm.
because during the British colonial rule, a large number of Indian people were taken as indentured labor to the British colonies here, which currently form the nations of Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, and Suriname. So they continue. So these countries even today have a huge percentage of Hindu people.
Okay.
I think I'll just stop here.
All right.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing screen. Yeah.
Okay,
Are there any
yes.
questions as of now that I should take?
Wait a minute. Okay, is there anyone would like to ask question before we can continue? Shruti, can I give a short remark in bahasa before
Yeah, sure, sure.
before we continue? Teman-teman, semoga jelas ya tadi pembahasannya ya. Jadi tadi Miss Shruti banyak menjelaskan tentang bagaimana sih Hindu itu kita perlu pandang tidak hanya sebagai agama bagi orang India, tapi juga sebagai sebuah sistem, sebagai sebuah sejarah gitu. Mungkin teman-teman banyak yang belum tahu soal Hindu ya. Hindu itu basis ajarannya ada pada Dharma dan Karma. Dharma seperti yang teman-teman tahu, di UI kan ada yang namanya catur dharma. So in our university we are also having the same system of dharma, Shruti.
Isn't
So
it?
our university implemented this policy called catur dharma, the four dharma. Yes. So it's a basic responsibility that a lecturer should do in the university. I will explain to you later, but I will give a short remark in bahasa. Jadi sistem apa Hindu itu basisnya pada dharma dan karma. Kalau teman-teman udah pernah tahu ya, kalau dharma kan service atau pelayanan. Kalau karma ya sesuatu yang kita perbuat pasti ada konsekuensinya seperti itu. Dan selain soal agama, Hindu itu juga soal sejarah karena salah satu tempat di mana Hindu itu berkembang ya India itu sendiri. Jadi kita bisa melihat bahwa India itu tidak akan bisa terlepas dari sejarah Hindu, seperti itu kurang lebih. Nanti kita akan dengarkan lebih lanjut lagi dari Miss Shruti ya. Okay, Dewi, if you would like to ask a question, please ask. You can speak. You can unmute your speaker, Dewi.
Okay, thank you, Pak Hatsa.
Yes, please,
Hello.
please just
Okay.
continue.
Okay, thank you, Miss. What I want to ask is it fine or is it okay to say if Hinduism is not only a religion or formal religion in India, but based on your story of the history of Hinduism, can I call also Hinduism as a local beliefness that give many influence to the local wisdom, to the the habit of the people in India? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Shruti, could you understand the question?
Yeah, I guess Devi is asking that if Hinduism is more of a formal religion, or is it just a way of life?
Yes,
Is
yeah.
that it?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are very accurate, Devi. Hinduism is not very formally organized. It's like I said, a very fluid religion. It's basically a way of living of the Indian people. So it's a lot of there are a lot of strands of Hinduism, and those strands not only take in believers who believe in the most important gods of Hinduism, but they also include strands which include atheists and people who are agnostics and people who follow other kinds of practices. So it basically just comes down to the foundational values and ideas of Hinduism, which everybody shares, like the idea of dharma, the idea of karma, the idea of reincarnation, all of that. But yeah, it's more or less a way of living. That I think, yeah.
Okay.
Did it answer
Thank
your
you.
question?
Okay, Dewi, have your question been answered?
Yes, Mister. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dewi. Okay, so next line we have Habib. Habib, would you like to ask your question directly to Miss Shruti? Habib.
Okay. Thank you for your chance to give me time to ask your question. I want to ask question why Hinduism can spread like Islam and Christianity.
Okay. If I may repeat the question, so Habib is asking, one of my students is asking, why Hindu cannot spread like Islam and Christianity? Why Hindu is only spread within a certain geography? Could you answer that question, Shruti?
Yes, that's a very interesting question actually. And in further of my slides, like I'll show a slide, I'll try to explain how Hinduism did grow and did spread to various parts of Southeast Asia. But again, this idea of proselytizing, of converting people with different faith, does not exist in Hinduism.
Yeah.
So if it naturally or organically it grows, like it did grow to different parts of, it started in, as you see, in the northeast part or northwest part of India. Then it grew to the Indian subcontinent, and even today, large parts of the countries of Nepal, and earlier in the undivided India, large parts of Pakistan, Bangladesh used to be practitioners of the Hindu faith. So that was there. It did go as far as to Indonesia also. But again, there were no holy crusades of that sort, or there was never any like mass conversion that took place in the entire history of Hinduism ever. So for that, the idea of spreading it was never a motive of the Hindu saints or the Hindu kings and other people over the course of history.
Okay, I think it's pretty understood well. So Hindu never had the mass confession project or any kind of a holy war or campaign or some sort of that. I think it's a very special belief that Indic religion is subscribing, and it's very interesting to see that reflecting upon the foreign policy of South Asian countries as well. Uh, Habib, is that answered? Habib, is that understood?
Yes, I understand. Thank you,
Okay,
Shruti.
okay. Thank you very much, Habib. Okay, the last question for this session, I think, Mamat. Mamat, would you like to ask the question directly?
Okay, before that, can you hear me? Can
Yes,
you hear
we
my
can hear you.
can you hear my voice? Okay. I want to ask you to about the cases of Hindu. As we know that in Hinduism religion, especially in India, we know that there are four castes in India. First one is Brahmana caste, and the second one is Kshatriya. The third one is Vaishya, and what
Yes.
else?
Sudra.
And the first one is Sudra.
Sudra.
Yeah, Sudra.
Yes,
Thank you,
yeah.
thank you, Sraza. And why the castes of in India so considered so high by the people in India? Thanks.
Can you repeat your question?
Why
I,
the castes of India considered considered very high or very respectful for India people
Okay,
to
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
I
I
get
think
your question.
yes.
castes of India.
It's I'm glad that you raised this question. It is a very important question that has plagued the idea of Hinduism for a very long time. So in some of our, not in all our holy texts, but in some of our holy texts, the idea of varna system has been described. Varna system means where there will be four classes of people: the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. So the idea was not that these castes will pass on to the progenies of the people based on their birth, but will pass on based on their work and based on their natural instincts. So let's say that there is somebody who likes to do a lot of work through their mind, like people who have the instinct to be a scholar, to be a writer, to be a researcher. So that person, despite his birth in any caste, would be considered as a Brahmin. So the power of knowledge would reside in the Brahmins. And then the people who would again take care of the society's safety and protect the society from the external enemies, and will bear arms, will be called Kshatriyas. So they will instead of spending their time and efforts in in matters of intellect and all of that, they will be they will develop their strength and their power and their defenses to protect the society. So like that, the Kshatriya caste came into existence. The people who will be the traders and who will conduct businesses and will have a hold on money will again be the Vaishya clan. And the people who will do the provide services to all these three clans will be the Shudra clans. So will belong to the Shudra part of the society. So it used to be like that, but again, like over the course of history, Hinduism faced a lot of decay and degradation, and these caste identities got solidified. And actually, the people who used to give services to the people who were considered Shudras were actually referred by the highest of honors, because that was considered the greatest job of serving other people. But over the course of history, for certain reasons, for certain political reasons, and all of that, Shudras came to be considered as untouchables, and the caste hierarchies got in place where different roles and different places were put up above other clans and communities, and all of that happened. But the idea was this, that no power would be allowed to concentrate in one community. Like if the Brahmins will have the hold over knowledge, they could not have the hold over money. So they would always live on the money given by other communities. The same happened for Kshatriyas. So Kshatriyas would have the responsibility of protecting and safeguarding the people. So they would have the power and the strength and the defense forces. But again, the power of money will be with the Vaishya clan, who will depend on the Brahmins for their knowledge and on the Kshatriyas for their safeguarding and for their protection and for their defense. So all these all three of them would be dependent on the Shudras, and the Shudras would be dependent on them. So all these castes and communities were interdependent. And the most important fact to remember is that the idea of passing of caste to the kids and the children of anybody would be dependent on what kind of jobs or what kind of work that they took up. But yeah, over the course of history, it was largely distorted, especially during the British rule in India, and our histories were rewritten. And even now, if we go back to our ancient texts and our literature from the time of before when the Britishers came, we find that these identities used to be very fluid in nature. Did that answer your question, Abdul Rahman?
Okay, I got it. Thanks a lot, Miss.
Okay, thank you. I guess we will close the first session for Q&A right now. I think Shruti needs to continue with her explanation on how on her next on the next session. Yeah.
I was just planning to share one screen of
All right.
a slideshow. Can I do that?
Okay, yes, of course. Let me do that for you. Okay, you can share it now.
Yeah. Are you able to see it?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So in the peak time of Hinduism, this could be called as the sphere of influence of the Indian of the Hindu civilization. So as we can see from the Himalayas in the very north, which would be around here on the top, to the seashores of Indian Ocean. This was of course, the original land of the Hindu people, but it also extended through trade and through monks and through scholars who traveled to Burma, to Thailand, to Cambodia, to Vietnam, to Malaysia, to Indonesia, even to Brunei and Philippines, to the south of China. The influence of India and the influence of Hindu scholars and Hindu kings used to be seen all throughout this place. So even today, we see that large swaths of these places have some or the other hints of the Hindu touch through temples, through effects. Different parts of the languages are very similar. They take their roots in the language of Sanskrit, and there are lots of art practices and different forms of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are told in these parts of the world. I'll just stop sharing screen now.
Okay,
I'll get back to the lecture. I would like to quote Sri Ram Madhavji, who is my mentor and is also one of India's foremost political and ideological leader. He had once said that while the Chinese influence over Southeast Asia began with boots of soldiers of various empires, the impact of India over the region was mostly through monks and traders. The importance of these words can be understood in the context of Indian foreign policy. India makes special efforts and initiatives towards Southeast Asia or the ASEAN nations, first through the Look East policy and then the Act East policy of the Indian government. We had the Look East policy where we decided that when the whole world was seeing to the West for their influences, for power, for recognizing and alignment, India would look to the East. And under the Narendra Modi government, this was improved one notch, and we started calling it Act East policy. We'll not just look towards the East for our shared connectivity and shared ideas and collective progress, but we'll also act together. India very acutely recognizes and promotes what it believes is its civilizational sphere of influence. The Hindu cultural heritage of countries like Vietnam, where the Champa kings, who were basically Hindu kings, ruled for centuries. Cambodia, where the national flag is still adorned with the picture of the Angkor Wat, which is the largest Hindu temple in the world. Countries like Thailand, where the Thai king even today is referred to as Rama, a reincarnation of the Hindu god Vishnu, and to the 9th century temple of Parambanan in Indonesia, which is dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu. All are marks of Hinduism. Modern day India realizes the potential of these common culture of syncretism, of tolerance, of diversity, which Southeast Asia shares with India, and thus India places much importance to this region. Before I delve into other specific aspects of Indian foreign policy, I will start with setting up a basic premise of the same. With some variation, India's external relations have always shown a string of continuity and consistency since independence in 1947. Many governments came, many leaders came, different political parties came to the helm of the country to rule the country, but India's foreign policy, more or less, has remained the same. India is not alone in continuing this constant theme. Most countries base their foreign policy on a template which is designed by their national experiences and how they view themselves. In India's case, its foreign policy paradigm borrows heavily from the civilizational aspect of its ideas. Even when a policy which would be introduced now would appear new, it actually echoes something of the recurrent themes of Hinduism and other civilizational heritage that the Indian people have inherited from our ancestors. India's foreign policy in the post-colonial period has heavily depended on the moral legacy of Mahatma Gandhi, who is the father of the Indian nation. One has to remember that Gandhi's dream of India was of Ram Rajya. Ram Rajya, or the rule of the ideal king, ideal philosopher king of India, Ram, from the Hindu text of Ramayana. Gandhi's struggle against the British rule was founded upon the idea of satyagraha, the insistence of truth through non-violence or ahimsa, which were both key principles of the Hindu religion. Following India's independence, India's national motto was selected to be Satyamev Jayate, which translates to truth alone triumphs, which is a borrowing again from Mundak Upanishad, which is an ancient Hindu text. India's foreign policy was carefully crafted after independence by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, who was an extremely active global leader of his times. So Jawaharlal Nehru ruled, he became the Prime Minister of India in 1947 when India gained independence and continued till his death in 1964. As a lover of history, Nehru could see that while India was weak then, as in weak militarily or economically because of so much of drain of wealth under the British Empire, he knew that India would one day be a very powerful country. He was a true internationalist and an idealist. He championed multilateralism and strong international institutions. As a realist, Nehru sought peace. He understood the importance of. Is there some issue? I can hear some noise.
Yes, yes. Yeah. We can still
It's
hear
okay?
your. Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay. It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay? Yeah. So Nehru was keenly aware of the cultural, philosophical heritage of India, and he understood that despite India's weak position in those times when the British had just left, in a way completely ruining the economy of the country and leaving it a very weak nation militarily, But Nehru knew that India had a lot to offer to the world in terms of spirituality and philosophy. During the Cold War times, then, between the US and the USSR, Nehru, along with Sukarno of Indonesia, Abdul Nasser of Egypt, and Joseph Tito of Yugoslavia, started the non aligned movement, which gave independent countries like India and Indonesia an opportunity to stay sovereign and free of the influences of the major power blocks of the world. The seeds of strategic autonomy of India, thus, were sowed by the first Prime Minister of the country, Jawaharlal Nehru. While India wants complete sovereignty in managing its affairs, Hinduism as a religion also emphasizes on the importance of looking inwards. India, for its size and importance, has never attempted to interfere in the affairs of other countries. Even after winning the 1971 war against West Pakistan, India left the newly independent country of Bangladesh free to manage its affairs. This remains a unique case study in the history of the world when a country has won a battle, won a war, but yet left the country to manage its own affairs without any interference or influences. And now we see what a success story the country of Bangladesh is. Uh, Ancient Hindu treatises on statecraft and religion recommend isolation from other civilizations. Kings could conquer territory from neighboring kings within India, but annexing of other cultures or people was deemed extremely unethical. So that again is one reason why Hinduism and Hindu kings did not spread across the world by annexing or taking away the empires of the people or forcing the ideas or the cultures of Hinduism on other people. Uh, Next, we come to a very important idea of Hinduism, which is that of Vasudev Kutumbakam. This Hindu philosophy of Vasudev Kutumbakam translates into the idea that the world is one big family. The consecutive governments of India have always made an effort to stand by this philosophy, but under Narendra Modi's leadership, Indian foreign policy in its entirety has gained much rejuvenation, and special efforts have been taken to connect to different parts of the world in the spirit of this philosophy of Vasudev Kutumbakam. Under Narendra Modi's Brihat Sampark Yojana, the External Affairs Minister of India, earlier who was Mrs. Sushma Swaraj, and the present External Affairs Minister of India, other cabinet ministers have attempted to visit or host delegations from all 192 countries of the world over the past 5-6 years. And there has been extensive interactions with different governments, different states, different countries in the world, with different kinds of people, and lots of initiatives have been taken to strike, to sustain, and to build connections across the world. And all of this, again, will find its root in the Hindu idea that the world is one big family. This again reflects in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's efforts to rejuvenate and connect with 25 million people of the Indian diaspora who are settled across the world. Hundreds of thousands of the Indian diaspora flock international stadiums across the world to hear and see Prime Minister Modi when he visits their home countries. Many policies specifically aimed at supporting and engaging the Indian diaspora have been undertaken under the Modi government. As we would know that the Indian diaspora remains to be one of the most well-to-do diasporas in the world. Indian people are today heading Google, they're heading Microsoft, they're heading all these big companies. They are known to be pioneers in the field of science, in terms of mathematics, in terms of social sciences. And recently, members of the Indian diaspora won the Nobel Prize for economics. So Indian diaspora again has a lot to offer to the country back here. I mean, in India and also to the world. The Prime Minister Modi's government recognizes this and makes a lot of effort to engage with them. Moving on to another aspect of Narendra Modi's government, addressing the UN General Assembly in 2014, Narendra Modi had championed the adoption of International Yoga Day, a proposal that was adopted by UNGA within 3 months in December itself. The proposal of India to make International Yoga Day accepted by all countries was sponsored by a total of 177 nations in UN, which is today the highest number of co-sponsors of any UNGA resolution. As you would know, yoga is a major school of traditional Hindu philosophy which aims to create oneness of the body with the mind and with the soul. Moving beyond, Hinduism places great importance on nature. Hinduism as a religion is very biocentric, as in the central idea of Hinduism is not the man but the nature. Like other religions are known to be very anthropocentric, as in human is considered to be the center of the world, while in Hinduism, nature is supposed to be the center of the world. All gods of Hinduism represent one or the other forms of nature, and all lives, be it humans, be it animals or birds or flora and fauna, all are supposed to have some form of god residing in themselves. This belief and worship of nature is reflected on India's stance towards protecting the environment in multilateral forums. To reduce carbon emissions through the use of fossil fuels, India initiated the idea of International Solar Alliance under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The primary objective of this alliance is to work for efficient exploitation of solar energy to reduce dependence on fossil fuels. This initiative was proposed by the PM and today is gaining a lot of popularity in countries, especially in the zone of Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn, because all these nations, Narendra Modi called them Surya Putras, or the sons of the, or like the children of the sun, because these countries receive a lot of solar energy, a lot of solar light, which can be utilized to produce electricity and reduce dependence on fossil fuels. For his initiative to promote international cooperation against climate change and towards protection of the environment, the United Nations awarded Prime Minister Modi with UN's highest environment award, which is the Champions of the Earth Award. Moving ahead, India has always been the first responder to countries suffering from natural disasters in its proximity, wherever India can do this. Narendra Modi's government has ensured this tradition is continued and improved over the years. India was the first responder after the tsunami in 2004 to many countries in the region. After the cyclone in Myanmar in 2007, which devastated a large part of the country, India was again one of the first responders. The same happened during the huge earthquake which came in Nepal in 2015 and cyclones in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Even in evacuation efforts, of both Indian and foreign nationals during the wartime crisis in Iraq and Syria, India, under the premiership of Narendra Modi, has been a front runner in bringing people safe back to India and to their respective countries. When Narendra Modi came to power with the slogan of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and Sabka Vishwas, which translates into everyone's support, everyone's progress, and everyone's trust, India not only used this as a domestic policy, his government not only ensured that this becomes a very integral part of the domestic policies of the Modi government, but also reflects in its foreign policy. As you can see, India makes a lot of efforts to provide medicines, masks, PPE kits to countries across the world, even during the corona pandemic. And from countries in the American subcontinent to Africa to Southeast Asia to the smallest island nations of Indian Ocean, India has always made efforts to help as much as it can through providing medical support, to providing doctors, to providing the generic drug which India produces, the HCQ, hydrochloroquine. And India does this without any imposition of debt traps on country, which again makes it a different country than, countries like China and other powers. I'm done here. I would like to ask people for their questions. I would love to take them.
Okay, thank you so much, Shruti. A very comprehensive explanation indeed. You mentioned several important points like Vasudeva Kutumbakam, Sabka Sat, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. I think it's very important for my student to know all of these Indian terms, especially those who are interested to study more about Indian politics. And now we currently have some students would like to ask the question. The first one, I would like to welcome Ari Septian. Ari, would you like to ask a question to Ms. Shruti?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes.
I want to ask a question to Ms. Shruti. First, under the rule of Modi, as we all know, India start to reshape the foreign relations, right? So, if Pakistan and Afghanistan can call themselves as Republic of Islam, neighborhood countries such as Bangladesh can declare Islam as their national religion. My question is why India, which is the majority is Hindu, didn't make it as the Republic of Hindu? And thus the legalization of the Citizenship Amendment Bill was a kickstart for this agenda because, as we all know, additionally, the BGP party has renamed several cities under Modi, replacing the Mughal era or British colonial names with the original Hindu ones. The most prominent example is Allahabad, a city of 1.1 million people that is now officially known as Prayagraj. So, uh, why India didn't made it as the Republic and Hindu, and thus the legalization of the Citizenship Amendment Bill was the kickstart for this agenda. That's all for my question.
Okay, thank you, Ari. I think it's well understood, Shruti. You can give the reply.
Oh, lovely question, Ari. I think you have given it a lot of thought and you have studied the Indian case very well.
Yes.
The question of making India a Hindu republic has always been a very fringe question. It has never been a mainstream question. No political party, no large scale political party in India has ever raised this idea. Because as we know, India is a very secular nation. The idea of a secular nation finds its place in the preamble, in the most important document of this country, which is the constitution of this country. So India is not only home to Hindu people, but is also home to the second largest population of Muslim people in the world, to lots of Christian people, to people who proclaim their faith, who support the faith or like who have adopted the faith of Buddhism, religions of Jainism, Sikhism, and a lot of other kinds of faiths exist in India and have existed for the largest time peacefully. All of these, even the Zoroastrian faith, the faith of the Parsis, and Jewish people find their home in India. So, India, people of India, the political leaders of India realize the importance of this idea that India has been home to all these people for so long, and it will continue to be the home to all these people without being partial to the Hindu people, even though they exist in majority, which is around 79% today. So the question of India becoming a Hindu republic would never come, even under any party's leadership. Next, the question that you raised was under the BJP government, a few cities have been renamed and the names have been changed. So this is a common practice that has been seen across the world, even in countries like Spain and other places. Uh, so like and not just under the BJP government, even under the previous government, like our city of Mumbai, it was earlier called as Bombay, but Bombay was a name which was given by the British colonial rulers, and it did not reflect the local ideas of the people, the local philosophy of the people, the local customs of the people. So many places like Madras again was a British name, so it was changed into Chennai, which is again a Tamil word, which reflects the identity of the Tamil people who reside in that part of the country. And I myself belong very close to the city of Prayagraj, which was renamed from Allahabad to Prayagraj. And because a lot of these places have a collective memory of people that they were attacked by invaders from outside who were not kind to the people, who destroyed their temples, destroyed their way of life, imposed taxes like the jizya tax, where local pilgrimages were stopped and local historical monuments were destroyed. So for the longest time, this had been the demand of the people that the name of their city should reflect their culture. You can see that there are large parts of this country which will continue to be called by their Muslim names, by their British names, because for the longest time, British and Muslim, not British as much, but Muslim culture has become a very integral part of India's identity. But again, there are some places which where the memory of the people is not of a kind Muslim ruler, but that of an invader, of a looter, or like the Mughal king Aurangzeb. uh, those memories, the constant demand by the people had been there. And as you know, India is a democratic republic, so the people's voice has to be heard in the parliament. So the people's demand was always there, that that names of roads and cities which are named after those invader kings, or the looters, or the destroyers of Hindu culture and the Indian culture in general. Not we have to remember that when invaders and looters came to India, they not only destroyed Hindu religious places, but also caused a lot of damage to the Buddhist heritage of India. Nalanda, which was then the world's first university and the world's largest library, was burnt by these Mughal rulers, and it continued to burn for 6 months. The books kept in the archives of Nalanda remained to burn for 6 months. And again, when different Indian governments came to power, the local people, in their collective memory and in their collective records, this was always there, the demand to change the name to something that reflects more their past, their cultural heritage. So for these reasons, in certain places, the names have changed. But again, it is not to overwrite the Muslim identity of these places, or other things. Muslim identity and Muslim culture will always remain a very integral part of this country. But in certain places where the memories are more of that of destruction and loot and all of that, in those places names have been changed. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Shruti. Ari, is that well understood? I think.
Uh, Sir, I have a continuation question. Is that
All
okay?
right, all right then. Yes, please.
Yes.
I have read some articles that saying, as we all know, Trump has the America's first foreign policy, and I've read that Modi has the unspoken Hindus first agenda. What do you think about that?
That's again a very good question that you are raising. See, in India, a lot of things are driven by the politics of opposition, and the BJP's politics has always been seen as the politics of Hindus. But again, this is a perception that the opposition would like to use, and make BJP seem like the party of the Hindus, so that other liberal people of the country, the people who do not support these kind of ideas, would vote against the BJP. But as I would like to remind everyone, that Narendra Modi came to power with the slogan of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Vikas, which is together we will grow, together we will progress, and together everybody's trust will be taken. And you can see, and I mean, these kind of uh, you know uh, driven political agenda which find a place in articles and newspapers, especially in the Western media, which have a lot of political leanings. They have political preferences for the parties which have been in power for the longest time. This can be challenged when we see that under the Narendra Modi government, the Minority Affairs Ministry has received the largest subsidies, the largest amount of money has been put into this, and these have been revived. Large number of schemes have been brought in to support and improve the economic status of the minority people, and these steps have been taken. And if you see, if one makes a close reading of Narendra Modi's speeches, one finds that he's also a firm believer of India, and all of India as a secular nation, of India as a tolerant nation. And if certain other fringe elements of the party do issue statements which are against this idea of India, they are very quickly reprimanded, and they're very quickly called out and punished for the same.
Okay. Okay, Ari, how was that? Ari?
Uh, yes, sir. And I want to ask once more, Miss
Okay.
Shruti.
Yes, sir.
Like Miss Shruti explained before, that India is so diverse. So in the rule of Modi, there's like riots like everywhere between Muslims and Hindu. uh, because of the amendment of Citizenship Amendment Bill. As you said before, that the Western news said that it was a discrimination between the from the Hindu to Muslims community. So, is there any possibilities that this will bring India to be apart from each other?
Thank you for asking the question again. I would like to point out that if we see the data under the Narendra Modi government, the number of riots has significantly come down. In all states where the BJP came to power, the number of riots were reduced actually. And yes, the CAA was a big issue in the country, but a lot of it was driven by misinformation. So, for those who would not know what CAA is, I would like to outline what the CAA Act of the Indian government was. CAA stands for the Citizenship Amendment Act. So and it is particularly the Citizenship Amendment Act aims to give citizenship, not just give citizenship, but just fast track citizenship to the the people of minority religions from the countries of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh who faced religious persecution. And because Pakistan is again an Islamic nation, Afghanistan an Islamic nation, the national religion of Bangladesh is Islam. So the people belonging to other religious communities, that of Hindus, those belonging to Hinduism, those following the faith of Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, faced religious persecution post partition. And you could see that earlier the percentage of the minority population in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, used to be really high, up to 22% or 23%. And today it is down to 8% in Bangladesh and further down, very less, 1% or something in Pakistan. And waves of these people came to India to seek refuge, but because there was no law to give them protection, to give them aid, so they had to suffer. They were neither citizens of those countries nor were they citizens of this country, so they suffered a lot. So this was one of the promises that the BJP had made for quite a long time. It did not come out of nowhere. For decades, this was on their manifesto, that they would make laws supporting the persecuted minorities coming from especially these countries. And it is not as if the Muslims who are religiously persecuted, a lot of Muslims in Pakistan and other places are persecuted who belong to the Ahmadiyya faith or other faith. They also seek refuge in India, but the numbers are very small. So even their cases are considered through the normal procedures. But because a slightly larger chunk of the religiously persecuted people belonging to other minority faiths of these countries, uh, they had to be given a special kind of protection because India had a duty towards them. They stayed in those countries by some chances after the partition. They choose to stay in those countries and suffered persecution. So for that reason, India extended this act towards them. And in India, what happened because of internal politics, of course, a lot of opposition parties, a lot of other agents and activists found this to be very discriminatory. And the government is trying to have a dialogue with them. This continues to be a question which is raised among young people, among the political class of the country. And I'm sure that India would find a way out of this without coming out as a partisan government, or a policy of the government which is discriminatory or incriminating towards any religious community.
Okay. Okay, I think it's comprehensive enough, Ari. I
Yes,
think we should give place to another student to
yeah.
ask.
Yeah,
You
thank you
have
so much for the great explanation, Miss Shruti. I gain another point of views about these issues. Thank you.
okay. Okay. Now we are moving on to another question. I think Akmal, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, sir. Before I ask, if is it okay or is it possible if I want to ask 2 questions?
Yes. Just two. Okay, just two.
Okay. Thank you for Mrs. Shruti and Mr. Hadza. Thank you for that chance. The first question is, As a Hindu religious center, is there a religion-based of India policy adopted by the world, such as the Vatican to have Laudato Si regarding the environment? Is there an Hindu religious policy adopted by the UN? And the second question is, I want to ask about how is Dalai Lama's, in this case is Tenzin Gyatso, presence in Indians politics, where we know that Tenzin Gyatso is a refugee in India, and how the Indian community, in particular the Hindus, responded to Dalai Lama's presence. Thank you.
Okay, so the question is about Dalai Lama. Shruti would like to give a comment on that.
Should I take the UN question first?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so Hinduism has never find an explicit place in any of the policies of the Indian government, be it domestic or be it international foreign policy or anything. So there's no question that UN would adopt a Hindu idea or a philosophy as, of course, Hindu ideas and philosophies find a place in the creation of policies of the Indian government, but they're not then like the government's policies are very secular in nature. Did it answer your question, Akmal?
Akmal?
Yes, sure. I understand the first question.
Okay, I'll talk about the Dalai Lama's case. So when as you would know that the philosophy, the religious practices of the Tibetan people and their language, their way of life is very similar to that of the Indian philosophy. Of that, it take like the Tibetan language finds its root in Sanskrit. A lot of Tibetan scholars have always studied Sanskrit and the Pali language, which Pali language again found its birth in India. And they're Buddhist people whose way of life is very similar to the Buddhist monks and Hindu monks of India. So when the invasion of Tibet happened from China, the Dalai Lama sought refuge in India, and the Indian government was very active in providing him safe space to enter India. And in different parts of the country, different cities, different places were allotted to the Tibetan people so that they could live there safely and could continue their culture away from the influences of the communist government of China. So even if you'll see now that where the Dalai Lama resides in India is Dharamshala, which again is in one of the hill stations of this country, where the weather is similar to that of the Tibetan plateau. And you will be so fascinated to find that the way of life in Tibet itself has changed, that the people have forgotten their culture, the way of life has largely become very Chinese. But in Dharamshala, the original way of life of the Tibetan people is preserved, their language is preserved, their culture, their religious practices, etc. preserved. Lots of people, lots of pilgrims every year visit Dalai Lama to seek his blessings, and in this idea of the Tibetan community is replicated in other parts of the country as well, from down south in Karnataka, in the state of Chhattisgarh, and other places where the Tibetan people have arranged themselves in a way, emulating their way of life as it used to be before the invasion of the Tibet land, of the free Tibet land by the Chinese government.
Okay. Akmal, is that understood?
Yes, I understand. Thank you for the incredible answer. I got the point. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Akmal. Now we have another question from Resti. Resti is one of my students who are currently working on her undergraduate thesis. She will be writing on Indian diaspora policy. Resti, please ask your question.
All right, thank you so much to Sir Haza and Miss Shruti. Okay, so I would like to ask a question to Miss Shruti. Since Prime Minister Narendra Modi government, he's been focusing on diaspora. The Indian diaspora keep rising because it gives a lot of advantage for India, especially in economic growth and India foreign policy interests. And they use the Indian diaspora community as a soft diplomacy tool for Indian government in foreign policy concern. So I would like to know your opinion about this soft diplomacy tool, and do you think there's any quite a challenge for India government to engage the diaspora community and create the world is a one big family, or Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? That's it. Thank you so much, Miss Shruti and Sarhaza.
Okay, thank you, Shruti. The question is on Indian diaspora policy under
Thank you,
Modi's
Dusty.
government. Yes.
I'm so fascinated that you have taken this topic as your dissertation topic. Um, as we would know that when India became independent in 1947, the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, he used to be a very active practitioner of the Indian foreign policy. And post that, many governments, many leaders came to the helm. But rightly so, the Narendra Modi government can be considered as the true heir to Nehru's foreign policy. And under Narendra Modi government, India's foreign policy in largely in its entirety has found rejuvenation, but has taken special steps to reach out to the Indian diaspora in different parts of the world. And the Indian diaspora, they wish to cultivate the Indian diaspora as not just as a diplomatic tool to support India's stance on various issues, to convey what the Indian people. So, if you'll see that lots of questions that have been raised on this panel have come from the Western reporting of Indian news, which might in lots of cases be very narrow and might not be able to reflect the Indian understanding of things. So for that reason, I feel, and I'm sure that the Indian government feels, that the Indian diaspora, who hold very important place in their host countries, can play a significant role in conveying the ideas and the emotions and the philosophy of the Indian people. And like you would know, you are doing your research on this, you would know that how extensive this engagement has become. Before Narendra Modi became the prime minister of the country, BJP was in power in 2004, and that time Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the prime minister of the country, and he started this initiative of awarding the Pravasi Bhartiya, or the Indian diaspora, the people who from the Indian diaspora who were doing well in their host country. The idea is to not only support them and continue their engagement with India, so that they know that India accepts them, accepts their inheritance, accepts their relation to this country, but also promote their loyalty to their host countries. It will this whole idea, you can draw parallels with the Jewish diaspora, which although has settled in all parts of the world, but they're also loyal to those countries where they're residing, but also serve the interest of the Jewish people in general. Did it answer your question, Rusty? Or should I focus on some other particular aspects of the diaspora?
Resti?
Yes, sir. Yes, miss. Okay. I think I quite agree with your opinion, because I've read that the diaspora community also brought the advantage for Indian government, so that they can bring the relations between the host country and the home country. And then I think I'm still confused about the challenge that could be faced by Indian government, because I think the it's quite interesting that diaspora bring a lot of advantage for India government, but since Indian diaspora community is the largest diaspora community in the world, I think it's quite a challenge for India. So I would like to know your opinion about the challenge that would be faced by Indian government. Thank you.
Yes, again, like you said, that the Indian diaspora community is one of the largest in the world, with 25 million people living abroad in different parts of the world, from the US, from Canada, from UK, and to Australia, to other parts of the country, other parts of the world, in, like I said, in Latin American countries. The challenge, I'm just thinking, what would be the challenge? The challenge is that they're so widespread that the government will have to make outreach to all these countries, and not only just make a one time outreach, but continue the engagement. the Indian diaspora serves a lot of economic purposes for India as well, because we receive huge remittances from the Indian diaspora. The diasporic community of India has done very well abroad. They would be, I mean, in terms of the community, they are more well off than the Jewish community. They're better educated than the Chinese diaspora community. So they hold a great potential for India in terms of providing us with better technology, providing us with better investment, and lots of Indian industries, lots of Indian states depend on the remittances that Indian diaspora from settled in the Middle East sends back home, or settled in the American continent sends back home. So the challenge is to utilize it in the most efficient manner without giving this impression that the Indian community or the Indian government is asking the diaspora community to be more loyal to India than to their host countries, because Indian government has made it very clear that the diaspora's first loyalty lies to their own country, their host country, and then to India.
Okay, how was that, Resti? I
All right,
hope
thank
that
you so much to Miss Shruti. I think that's
yes,
very helpful for me and for everyone who's been joining this meeting. And thank you so much for the time, sir.
yes, you're welcome, Resti. Hope that Shruti's answer could help you in developing your undergrad thesis. Okay, is there anyone who would like to ask a question, or Shruti, do you have anything more to explain? I think you've got a very good job today to explain
I am
what
just
Hinduism.
so I'm so impressed by your class, actually.
Oh,
The questions
really?
that are raised, yeah, they're very impressive. And I feel that much better than my presentation, I've been able to explain the Indian viewpoint through the questions raised by your students.
All
So
right.
I would be more than happy to take different questions raised.
Yes, yes. Okay. Is there any questions, students? Anything that you are curious about India? It's a very rare chance for us to meet people coming from the region. So yes, a new point of view, because most of news coming to Indonesia is basically sourced from Western news agency, and therefore we are rarely hearing directly from India. That's why it's very important to listen directly from someone who is coming from the region, so that you can get a more objective point of view, if I may say, in understanding India. Because as we know that India Indonesia is a very close ally country in this time, and therefore we have to understand India a little bit better.
I would like to ask a question back.
Yes, of
Uh,
course.
so in India, what happened was when the British left, Nehru called himself as the last Englishman to rule India, and the only
Ah,
problem with that statement was he was in so many ways more of an Englishman than an Indian, but he was not the last. The people who
ah,
continued to be at the helm of affairs in India were very elitist in nature.
yes.
They grew up in an English-speaking environment, and they
Mm,
read literature which came from the colonial powers.
yes,
So,
yes.
so the colonization of the Indian mind took place, and these were the people who went abroad to study, to Cambridge, to Oxford,
Mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
Ivy League universities in the US, and we see that a lot of them had the patronage of a certain political party in India which was in
Mm,
power for the longest time. So
mm,
we see that the people who write for Western media today and who write very acerbically about the BJP government and about the Indian way of life usually come from this class of people,
mm,
and it is a huge problem for us in India, which the Indian government is trying is dealing with and wants to counter. But yeah, again, like the ideas about India are usually driven by those restricted lot of people who are seen as an elitist class in India. What does is there a similar problem with Indonesia faced by the Indonesian people, or or is it just a unique Indian problem?
no, certainly we have similar kind of problem, but it's not really similar to the Lutyens circle, I think. We have this problem called as a Jakarta or Japanese mindset, which is most of the political activities happening in Indonesia is only controlled by Jakarta or only controlled by Japanese mindset. That's the problem. And especially this problem would be more problematic if these people are only studied within the Jakarta or within the Japanese context without understanding that Indonesia is actually a very wide country. And therefore, we have also to understand the Sumatra perspective, the Kalimantan perspective, the Papuan perspective. I think we have similar problem in the context of the elitist approach in viewing a very diverse context of Indonesian politics. And that's why after the democratization process happened in Indonesia, we are trying to decentralize the government. We are not becoming the federal as in India case, but we are decentralizing the government, especially in the local administration. We are giving more autonomy to the local provinces, to the local government to control their activity, so that the Jakarta would not play a more centralistic role in this part of the region. And for your information, Shruti, my students here in the class is coming from a very wide geographical region. They are not just coming from Java; they are also coming from Aceh, from the very westernmost part of the Indonesia, which is close to the Andaman, and also from the very the easternmost part of Indonesia. Akmal is coming from Manokwari. Akmal is coming from Manokwari. Ari is coming. Ari kamu dari mana, Ari? Ari is coming from Kalimantan or NTB, I think, from the Sumbawa, from the Nusa Tenggara Barat. Yes, most of the students here are coming from outside of Java. That's why this class is also diverse in the terms of geographical origin and also the ethnic origin, because not everyone here is coming from Java. They are coming from many various parts of Indonesia. And same thing we could find also in India. Students coming to Delhi is not also coming from Delhi. They are coming from various parts of India, from South India, from Northern India, from East India, and they're contributing to building a new discourse on nationalism, and also a new discourse on how politics should be managed not only by the Lutyens Delhi, but also by people coming from various regions in India. I think that's the similar problem that we are currently facing.
I think in that regard, countries like Indonesia and India have a lot to offer to the world.
Yes.
We find it so easy to live with our differences, to celebrate these differences. And when we see in countries which are so homogeneous in nature, like European countries or countries like the US, even like smallest of differences turn out to be such huge problems. And then such mainstream problems. And in India, with its 1.25 billion population, more than that, we have a population around 1.3 billion as of now. If you see that these kind of problems are very fringe, as in they're very small parts of the society. They're not a normal occurrence. Largely, India is a very peaceful society, and the news that we hear from the US and everything, and especially Europe, the problems they have with immigration and other things, they are quite shocking to us here in India, because we're so used to living with differences and differences, different languages, different way of, we look so different all across India. People in the northeast of India look very Asian in their features. Then again, in when you go down south, we have darker skin. Like I come from the south of India, so I have a darker skin. Then you go up, people have more fairer skin, and like people look so differently. They talk in different tongues, they follow very different cultural practices, but largely it has never been a problem. And I think the world has a lot to learn from our part of the world, our part of the Asian continent.
Yeah. I think we should do more discussion like this in order to enhance understanding between two countries, because as you know that if we are looking Indonesia and in India as Muslim and Hindu, people would find mostly the differences. But I think the similar part between the India and Indonesia is how we can deal with the differences, and how we can successfully manage the differences well, despite of the differing religion and also ethnicities. We succeed to provide a new new way of thinking to international politics. I think Indonesia and in India should do more what is it, engagement on this term, especially on how to manage the diversity. Uh, Friends, is there anyone would like to ask questions or remarks on India, Indonesia? Is there anything that you are curious about India? We are still welcome to accept your questions. Uh, is there anyone from YouTube channel who would like to ask the question? So most of our lecturers are currently standby in YouTube. They are chatting me here in the YouTube channel. Ada lagi mungkin? Is there anyone? Okay. Yes, Nabil. So one of my students would like to ask a question to you, Shruti. Nabil, please.
Thank you for giving me a chance to asking you, Miss Shruti. I wanted to ask what the relationship between karma Hinduism influence in foreign policy in India. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So he's asking about whether karma influences Indian foreign policy, whether the karmic philosophy influences Indian foreign policy. Would you give a remark on that, Shruti?
Oh, definitely, definitely. The idea of karma is so important. That is why India has never attempted to wage a war on any country, has
Yes.
always been a deterrent, because they know that if we wage a war, we should be open to, attacks as well. And that is why India is a very inward looking country. So
Yes, yes.
in our way of life, this is very ingrained in us, that everything that we do will have its, commiserate consequences. So that has been a very important role in India's foreign policy.
Yes, yes. Okay. Is that clear, Nabil?
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear enough why India is seldom to wage war, even with its hostile neighbor. And we've seen that India is currently doing negotiation with Chinese partners, with Chinese generals in Ladakh, because of the border disputes there. And India is trying to defend its border while trying to keep peaceful peaceful measures to be implemented within the disputed areas. I think that is one of the reflections of how Hindu philosophy is implemented within the real politics. Is that true, Shruti? We've been seeing Chinese aggression in certain parts of India, and India is trying to show a very big restriction, trying to restrict herself to not to aggress against China. Is that correlates with that viewpoint on Hindu philosophy, not to easily wage war with another?
Yeah, I think, yeah, larger than the Hindu philosophy, this could be called as the Indian philosophy.
Indian philosophy, yes.
Yes, India's response towards the border skirmishes with China has been very restrained. But at the same time, India has its foot on the ground. They, when it comes to our territorial integrity, India does not want to take a step back. The same thing could have been seen in the earlier issue with Doklam and in other parts of the country. So even though Tibet, which has such close cultural links with India, uh, and such close cultural ties, philosophical ties, and everything, India never lay claim to that land. And but the land that it considers its own, like the state of Arunachal Pradesh, the land of Ladakh, which is in the northernmost part of India, bordering China, all these have always been a part of India, and even an inch of this land will never be sacrificed by India. So when it comes to border skirmishes, we know China is a big power. Indian government realizes the power and the military power of the Chinese military, the PLA, but the Indian army has its foot very firmly on the ground, and as diplomatically as India can handle, it's trying to make its efforts.
Okay, okay, clear enough. Nabil, I think you've got the answer, and we are now moving to Rizky. Rizky, Muhammad Rizky, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes, please, Rizky.
Miss Ruti, I want to ask a question that is there any influence of Hinduism in specifically economics foreign policy of India and how it's applied, the implementation of the Hinduism influence in the economics foreign policy of India? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, specifically on trade policy. All right.
So India's foreign, if you see India's economic policy, for the longest time, it was very socialist in nature, but not socialist as in the USSR type with a very large state, but in terms of providing to the last man in the line. So the Gandhian socialism, as we would call it, uh, like how even the last man in the line must be provided for. So that for the longest time, and India was very wary of outside influences of because even when the British came to India, they came through the East India Company, which came here to trade. So India was not very open to outside economic influences, and for the longest time till 1990, from 1947 to 1990, India was a socialist country, and the idea was to provide for the last village services to the last village to the last man by providing subsidies and providing jobs through schemes like Narega, like national employment guarantee schemes. And even in Narendra Modi government's policies, economic policies, this is reflective when the Jan Dhan Yojana, when bank accounts were opened for millions and millions of poor Indian people, even with zero bank balance, or providing them with an identity card called the Aadhaar card. So these ideas again come from the Indian philosophy, the Indian cultural ideas of everybody should be taken together, everybody should be given a life of integrity, and more than the capitalistic way of life. This has found a very important place in India's economic policies, but also to the detriment of the society. So if we a lot of economists have said that if India opened up earlier, like other Eastern tigers like Taiwan or South Korea or Singapore, India's economy would have been much larger. Would have been a better competitor towards China. But again, like India has always been uh, a very socialist kind of country in its economic policies. And even today, when many economists said that locking down India, such a vast country, would have a very harmful effect on the economy. The government was very firm in its idea that first we would save lives and then we would save the economy.
Okay. Okay, is that clear, Rizky? Rizky Gifari?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. It's
Okay,
clear.
okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, Akmal would like to ask another question. Akmal, please, Akmal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shruti. I would like to asking you about, does the Indian government also make a film, drama, and etc. based on Indian culture as one of its diplomatic strategy to attract tourists and spread Hindu values, like the South Korean have a K-pop in being a tool for South Korean diplomacy? Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very good question, actually. But in India, the Indian government has never ever tried to intervene in the film industry. It has allowed the film industry to grow very organically, and Indian government has never used it as a diplomatic tool to promote it outside. But the growth of Indian film industry and India's soap operas and Indian music has been very organic in nature, and it has happened through the people themselves. The industry has grown by itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I, although I am of the view that the Indian government can use it in a very proactive manner in spreading cultural influences of India. But no. In India, like the Bollywood industry and other industries have grown very organically without the support of the Indian government and without the intervention of the Indian government.
Yeah. Indonesians are the most affected by the Indian movies, the power of Bollywoods. We are very familiar with Indian movies in Zanjeer by Amitabh Bachchan, to the legendary Koi Mil Gaya or Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Yes, all of those movies are very we are vividly remember those movies from our childhood. We are used to listen to many Indian music and songs since 1990, since when we were born, and our parents used to play just Indian movies in the television screens. I think most of the students here could remember their first time watching Indian movies during their childhood, and it gives us a very good childhood memories, because of all the good stories from India, like Kabi Kushi Kabi Gam, which is one of the best movie that I really like about diaspora. I think Resti has also watched it. The student would like to write on diaspora policy. I think she should watch it once more, because Kabi Kushi Kabi Gam really highlights the story of being diaspora. And yes, she thought that it's one of her favorite movie. Yeah, I think the thing that really connects us is not only food, but also movie as well. Yeah. Until now, we are still screening some Indian series, even the Mahabharat and also the Krishna series. We are still playing in the some of the television channel are still playing it on the televisions, and most of the viewers are Muslims. Muslim are very
Is
keen to follow the Mahabharat and
even in
also Krishna.
India,
Even in
even in
India, yes.
India. Yeah, so when initially the Mahabharata, even now, even when the lockdown was announced, the Indian government started playing the same 1980s Mahabharata show on television. And
Ah,
again, Mahabharata and Ramayana became the most watched television show of all times in the history of the world.
yeah.
Because it goes beyond the religion of people. All kinds of people,
Yes,
Hindus, Muslims, Christians, all watch Mahabharata together. Because again, it's not a part of just our religion, but also our common cultural heritage, which
exactly.
we have heritage all together.
Yeah. People are commenting here, like Akmal, when he was a kid, he got lessons from Mahabharat and story of Taj Mahal of Shah Jahan. Yeah, and true. Ari says the legend stays legend, of course. We are really familiar with all of the stories, and I got the chance to visit Kurukshetra even. It's a very golden chance to be there. Yeah,
It's
I
a
I have it.
surprising
Yes.
that that was the first time I visited myself, Kurukshetra.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Really? It's the first time
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Okay, then. Therefore,
So all these spots have to be a lot of work from the Indian government has to be put in to again develop them as tourism centers or spiritual centers.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
just in the starting phase of the whole thing.
Hmm. I think there should be more investment, because most of Indonesian really is really asking, is Kurukshetra really exist there in India? Because most of them eh, think it as a place of as a fictional place mostly, but the reality is that the thing is there, the Kurukshetra.
It's so surprising that all those little characters of Mahabharata, like
Yeah.
the kingdom of Draupadi,
Mm,
or the kingdom of Gandhara. Gandhara was in Afghanistan, current day
yes.
Afghanistan. And
Mm,
when Gandhara Empire fell, the Kushan Empire came into being, and
mm.
all these stories can be still traced back to particular geographical locations in India.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay.
I just
Anyone? Yeah. Yes. Please continue, Shruti.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I think I missed in my presentation that Narendra Modi's constituency is of Varanasi, and
Mm,
Varanasi has been the cultural capital of the Hindu people for thousands of years. For thousands of
mm,
years, even in our most ancient Vedas, we'll find the mention of the word Kashi. Kashi is
mm,
the original name of Varanasi,
mm,
and even in the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, Kashi plays a very important role. So choosing this as his constituency, Narendra Modi gave a kind of message to the Indian people that we would move towards a cultural rejuvenation. And over his tenureship, Varanasi has been instilled with so much life. Varanasi used to play a very important role in the private life of the Indian people. Every Indian always had this, this dream of making a pilgrimage to the city. But after Narendra Modi government came into power, this has seen a lot of rejuvenation. And even when we get visitors from outside, when Shinzo Abe from Japan came, he was very impressed with Varanasi. He introduced a pact called Kyoto Kashi Pact, where he promised to develop the city of Varanasi on the lines of the city of Kyoto in Japan. And then I think last year or before that, Emmanuel Macron from France came to visit Varanasi and promised a lot of tourism packages from European countries to Kashi to Varanasi. So in that way, I think the coming of BJP into power has seen, a lot more cultural rejuvenation of the country, and the people of the country are, back again being proud of their cultural heritages.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. And I think that India, Indonesia should do more city to city diplomacy.
Oh yeah, that is a wonderful idea.
Jakarta, for example,
And
hosts many Hindu temples, and it's very important to build a direct connection to Varanasi. It's a very important that yeah, sister city relations should be one of the future of Indian Indonesian diplomacy.
I think a lot of good ideas came from this talk, as in, I think
Yes.
that Bollywood has a lot of space to include stories from Indonesia, how, a lot of stories, the only reason that these movies find taking in Indonesian people is because I'm sure there must be some common ideas, some common feelings that have been portrayed. So I think basing on these common stories, a lot of movies and soap
Mm.
operas and everything should come into the picture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think in the future, perhaps some Indonesian artists could be commissioned in the Bollywood movie projects in the future, because we
Definitely, definitely.
yes, yes, because currently our movie industry, even Indonesian movie industries, is currently dominated by Indians. You know, people who are descended from Punjab families. From we have Manoj Punjabi, we have who else? Anyone knows the name of Indian producers, Indonesian producers of Indian origin? We have Punjabi House. We have many other Indians who are participating in Indonesian movie industries, and yeah, that shows that we should do more cultural exchanges in the future. After the corona pandemic, I would like to visit India once more, and maybe I will ask my students to consider to continue their study in India as well, if they want
Definitely,
to.
definitely.
Yes. Okay. Question. Uh, we'll be closing on 12. We still have 15 minutes because currently the call for prayer has been sounded, but I think it's okay. We still can wait until 15 minutes.
I would just like to inform everybody here that they can feel free to join me on social media platforms. I'll be happy to take any questions, any comments, their views on things, their ideas about India. I think we should take forward this conversation beyond this call today. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Instagram. My name is Shruti Rao.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay. Okay, Akmal already followed your Instagram. Okay, Akmal, you're so fast. Okay, okay, Ari also followed your Instagram. Yeah, Resti, especially for you, Resti, I think you should have more conversation since your topic is about Prawasi Bharati. I think you should do more conversation with Indian counterparts. I would be happy to help you in this term. Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. You're welcome. You're welcome, Resti. Okay, anyone? Is there any question? further question? If there's no question, I will close the session, but I will wait. I will wait until like 15 to 10 to 15 minutes.
Also, I would like to inform that India Foundation is organizing an ASEAN India Youth Dialogue today, tomorrow, and on 10th. I think it will be 5:30 Indonesian time.
Yes,
So
yes,
anyone who's
5:30.
interested, reach out to me. Have you shared the link with them, Haza?
Not yet, not yet. I will share. Could I share the link? Because I have the link with me. I have the link with
Yeah,
me.
okay. Yeah, I think that won't be a problem. So anybody who's interested, it would be
Oh,
good
really?
to
Okay.
have you there. Yeah. So it'll be a panel discussion. I think we have two Indonesian representatives,
Yes, yes,
but
and also
also it'll be
ambassador.
followed. Yeah, also. Surya Dipuro is one of our most favorite ambassadors in India.
Oh,
He's so
really?
active. Yeah.
Ah,
He's definitely one of my favorites.
Mr. Siddhartho.
He's very active.
Yeah. He's also one of the ambassador who actively do yoga. He always shares his yoga in Instagram.
Yeah, and he's very well traveled, and he has hosted us in the embassy many times, and
Okay.
always very intellectual conversations with him we have had.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Siddhartho. Yeah, if there's anyone would like to attend the session, it will be starting around 5:30 Indonesian time, Western Indonesian time. Please ask me to provide the link, because I have the link with me, and I would love if there's anyone would like to converse with Indian counterparts, because tonight we will be having Sri Ramadevji, right? Sri Ramadevji will be
Yes,
speaking. Oh,
yes.
okay, yeah.
Sir will be making the opening remarks, and
Right.
it'll be closing with the one of our secretaries of the MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs of India.
Yes, Miss Vijay Thakur Singh, I think. Yeah, okay.
Yes. She was the
Yeah.
speaker in Kautilya Fellowship
Yeah,
program also.
yeah. I know her. Okay. Okay, I think there's no more questions, Shruti. I think the students is already tired.
Definitely. A long morning.
Yeah, a very long morning to you. Yeah, I hope you already have your breakfast.
Yeah. I should head for that now.
Yeah, you should have it now. And so sorry to bother your morning with this very
No.
long and a very
This was the
tiring
loveliest
call.
conversation I've had in a long time. I'm very interested in, continuing this relationship with your students, keeping in
Yes.
touch.
Yes, and perhaps coming to Indonesia
Oh,
after Corona.
definitely.
Yes, you should.
Top of my bucket list.
Yes. Yeah. The name of the Instagram is that is Shruti Rao is your Instagram? I think I
Yes,
think it is.
yes,
Yes, Resti.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Shruti, do you have any concluding remark before we close the session? Concluding remark
I
before
just
I.
I just hope and pray for the best, best futures for all of you, for safety and better health for all of you and your families. And I hope in India and Indonesia further promote their historical and cultural linkages. And we have many other such sessions where we share each our ideas and our plans for the future. So that's all I'll have to say.
Okay, thank you. So for the last, I asked everyone to open their camera, so we will do a photo session. Could anyone open their camera? We will do the namaste. The namaste. Everyone, could you open your camera? We will do the namaste photo session. If anyone could open. Oh, Mr. Hanga, you're also here. Mr. Hanga, hello. So Mr. Hanga is our head of department, Shruti.
Wow, I'm so
Hello,
lucky,
Shruti.
Mr. Hanga. You.
Nice,
Hello, sir.
nice to have you here. Thank you very much for being able to share with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Mr. Hanga. It has been my pleasure entirely.
Thank you. I was actually joined later, but I was inspired by your explanation about the influence of castas, I mean Brahmas and Sudras and so on, and that's philosophy to the foreign policy of the India. Thank you again.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is everyone's ready now? I think not everyone's is ready. No problem. So we'll be having the namaste. So how I should, is there anyone, ada yang bisa ngambil nggak ini? Wait a minute. How can I take the picture? The entire screen. Okay, please stand by like this. Okay. Record. Okay. One, two, three. Okay, I've got this. I think again, not everyone is ready. No problem. Okay. That's all, everyone. Thank you for your participation in the session. I've took the picture, Satria. Okay, thank you so much, Shruti. I hope that you can visit Yogyakarta and we will treat you with the finest food as you have treat me back then in India, in Delhi. I hope that I can treat you with the same similar food. Of course, it will be vegetarian as you didn't as you really ascribe to the belief of a vegetarian. We would love to host you once more in similar kind of discussion, hopefully offline. And see you everyone in the nearest future. I hope that everyone stays healthy and safe. And until then, see you. Assalamualaikum, namaste. Thank you very much for participating in this discussion.
Thank you again, everyone.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.